Monday Night Raw starts off with LA Knight, the Usos versus The Vision. It started off with LA Knight was cutting a promo, got interrupted by The Vision. This eventually led to the Usos getting involved. So Adam Pearce made a six-man tag match. The Vision ended up picking up the victory, which I did like. Bronson Reed got the pinfall, which I also did like because Bronson Reed hasn't been booked well at all since he beat Roman Reigns. So I did like they made him look stronger and made him get the pinfall. And they won without cheating, which I also like because typically they always have Vision, need some type of interference, but they end up winning clean in this match. After the match, we end up getting Logan Paul. He goes to the announce table. He end up taking Michael Cole's headset, puts it on, starts talking to him with the headset on. Then you get the masked man comes out and stomps Logan Paul out, then runs away and escape to continue the whole masked man story. So we'll see how this eventually plays out. Earlier in the show, there was a thing where a crate was brought to WWE. It was like a cardboard like a wood cardboard box, like a huge crate, and it ends up saying that don't open until February 28th, which is the Elimination Chamber. So we'll see what happens, what's in the crate. I don't really have any guesses, really. I don't really have any ideas because I don't know what could be in a crate that would make logical sense because you can't say a human being because that would just wouldn't make any sense. But who knows? Maybe that's going to be the thing. It's going to be a new return. I don't know. But we'll see how this story plays out. Like I said, I'm not the most interested in this story because a lot of people are trying to figure out who's the masked man is. The masked man is going to be Seth Rollins. It's no secret who's the masked man is. They're using a stunt double most likely. They're using another wrestler to play as Seth Rollins, but the masked man is going to be Seth Rollins because logically speaking, from a story perspective, why would it be anyone else? Like people are saying it's Grayson Waller because they think it's Grayson Waller. Even if it is Grayson Waller playing him, it's not going to be actually Grayson Waller revealing himself. That would just be stupid because why would he, like, no, like, if it ain't Seth Rollins, I don't care. Like, that's really, because he's the only person that makes logical sense to be underneath the mask to even want to get payback for against the Vision. We don't need another new person. No, we don't need no more new people in this Vision storyline. Let it be Seth Rollins and let's just move on so we can eventually get the Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins match, which I'm assuming is going to happen at Mania. Afterwards, we get a women's elimination chamber qualifying match between Asuka, Bayley, and Natalya. This match was actually solid. I enjoyed this match. The way that this match ended though was a bit disappointing because you end up getting Asuka tapping out Bayley, which I am kind of confused by, and I'm just the Bayley and Lyra disrespect is just ridiculous with the way that Triple H is booked. I don't understand how can someone be booked so well to being booked so poor. Bayley has always been booked poorly for the most part in WWE. Her booking is very up and down. When it's down, it's down. When it's up, it's up. Like, she went from being WWE champion past WrestleMania 40 all the way to just barely being able to win matches all of a sudden now. And then Lyra went from feuding with Becky Lynch, feuding for the IC title, to whatever they're doing with her now. It's just very weird. I don't understand why Asuka needed to tap out Bayley. There was really no logical reason to even do this because if the logic is going to be to build up Asuka, it's not like Asuka is winning the chamber, so there was really no reason to have her tap out. And it's just weird. It was just no reason to have her tap out, really. That was my only concern. I'm fine with Bayley losing, but having her tap out, it's a bit concerning. I'm a bit confused on that. There was really just no reason because typically WWE never have people tap out, especially babyfaces. WWE never have their babyface tap out. But all of a sudden, Bayley is the babyface you want to tap out against Asuka of all people, who hasn't been built that strong. To me, it just feels very random to, like, all of a sudden that's what you decide you want someone to. I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I could be a bit biased because Bayley is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I could be a bit biased there. I just felt like that was just unnecessary. It was just no reason. I'm cool with her losing. I just feel like her tapping out was a bit much. Then shortly afterwards, we end up getting Maxine Dupree attacking Natalya when she was going back in Gorilla. So they're continuing that feud. So we'll see how eventually all that unfolds. Now we end up getting Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. Liv Morgan was having a sit-down interview with Michael Cole. Stephanie Vaquer interrupts. She ends up talking in Spanish. Dominic Mysterio ends up translating. And then after she was done talking in Spanish, this lasted for like a minute. And then you end up getting Liv Morgan crying. And then Liv Morgan ends up running off. Okay. This segment, when I first saw it, I was fine with it. After I saw like what Stephanie actually said and understood what she actually said, I'm going to be honest here. This segment, I still like it. I just don't understand why Liv Morgan is crying. it just doesn't make sense because the premise of what she really said was basically Liv Morgan didn't work hard to get where she was at. She doesn't understand what hard work is. She has worked harder than Liv Morgan due to her struggles. And then she ends up basically saying that Liv Morgan hides behind Dominic Mysterio in the Judgment Day. That's literally the main thing she said. I'm going to be honest. I don't understand how the fuck that was enough to make her cry. I'm going to be honest. I have went on Twitter. Everyone keeps trying to make this make sense. Some people are saying that, well, Dominic repeated it back to her, so it came off more emotional. What? Dominic repeating back what I just said made her cry? I'm sorry. How the fuck is her? How is Stephanie saying that she hasn't worked hard enough and that she was handed everything, making her cry? I just don't understand it. Like, I don't get how that was enough to make Liv Morgan cry, because that doesn't even fit her current gimmick right now. Her character, like, that's what I'm more so confused about. It just doesn't make sense for her to cry over that of all things. I just don't feel like that was enough. And then someone was also saying that, well, the reason why she's crying is because she's downplaying her past and downplaying her hard work. Again, I don't understand how that's enough to make her cry. I understand the promo. Like, people try to make it seem like if you don't understand, that means you. No, I understand the promo. It's not that hard to understand. The problem is, it shouldn't be enough to make her cry. That's the only thing that's not making sense. One person even said at one point that I was just done, where he ended up telling me that, well, her catchphrase is cry about it. So it makes sense for her to cry. I'm like, if we're going that far, hey, y'all got it. Y'all right, I'm wrong if we're going that far. But nonetheless, again, I just don't understand why she's crying. It just doesn't make sense. It would have been cool if she got mad, like frustrated. That's cool, because it makes sense for her to get mad about that, because Stephanie is basically downplaying her struggles, saying that she got handed everything. And then other people are also saying that, well, she's saying that she got handed everything based off her experience, based off what she had to go through, and that compared to her, that she don't know what real hard work is, which is true if you want to go from that perspective. My only argument is that Stephanie never said that. You're just putting words in her mouth. She never said that, well, based off my experience, you don't know. She never said that. All she literally said, you've been handed everything. You had everything handed to you at WWE, while I had the opposite. She never said specifically how, like, so I feel like sometimes it's either fans are trying to make something make sense that it doesn't make sense, or they're just really reaching. But nonetheless, I find what they did here. I just feel like Liv Morgan crying doesn't make much sense, in my personal opinion. But we'll see how this plays out. I get why they probably went this route, to make it more personal, because the feud does need to be a bit more personal. So overall, we'll see how this eventually unfolds. I do like the segment. I do understand why some people may not like the segment, especially because the Spanish speaking. I do understand why fans don't like it when wrestlers speak in a different language, because at the end of the day, it's an American product. People speak English for the most part, so I understand why people want their wrestlers to speak English. I kind of feel the same way. I don't mind it as much, long as it's not all the time. There just needs to be more of a balance, if I'm being honest. Same thing, a lot of people don't like that Dominic was in this segment. I'm fine with Dominic being in this segment to a degree, because he is the translator for Liv Morgan, so it makes sense, and they're a couple. Now, I don't think them being a couple should make it seem like they should be together all the time. Couples aren't together all the time, so I don't think that's a good argument. But in this case, Dominic needed to be a translator, so it makes sense here. I just don't want Stephanie to be speaking Spanish all the time, because there are moments where, as good as the segment probably was, it would have been better if I didn't have to go on Twitter like 15 minutes later to figure out what she said, because it does take you out of the promos a bit when you don't know what they're saying. So I do understand this. I don't understand why people have a problem when people don't like when other wrestlers talk in a different language. It's like, it makes sense. It's an American product. You speak English. You want to understand what they're saying. It's the same thing. If I'm from Japan, I would assume they probably want a new wrestler that come in to speak Japanese instead of speaking French or whatever, because they don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it goes either way in any promotion that speaks a different language. So overall, like I said, they need to make this a little bit more personal. So I'm fine with it. I just don't think it makes much sense for Liv Morgan crying. But someone please in the comment section, let me know if I'm tripping. But overall, I did like what they did here. We get CM Punk and Finn Balor. Finn Balor came out with Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough. JD McDonough finally makes his return. Basically, they go back and forth. Punk basically ends up playing the mind games they played last time, with basically saying that Finn was so great once upon a time, all his accomplishments in the past from New Japan, to now mention how he didn't need the Judgment Day before, but now that he can't win, he seems like he may actually need the Judgment Day, getting in Finn Balor's head, basically. Finn Balor basically responds and tries to play it off like he tried to say like he's the best in the world and all that. CM Punk continues to play the mind games of him being in the Judgment Day and how he needs the Judgment Day and all. Later in the show, though, we do end up getting Finn Balor the entire Judgment Day. You end up getting Finn, JD, and Dom. Finn basically wants to go into the chamber and do it all by himself. JD refused, but Finn tells him that he wants to do it by himself. This leads to an argument. So we'll see how that plays out at the chamber. I am hoping that we end up getting some type of turn because they're clearly teasing a babyface turn for Finn. Also, all of Judgment Day are healthy besides Roxanne Perez. So I'm hoping that they're just pushing the Finn Balor stuff now because I'm assuming Roxanne Perez's injury isn't that serious so they can move forward with this because we cannot do this again where we're just waiting for all of them to be healthy because for whatever reason, every single time when they need to push this story, one person's health is not healthy. I don't understand how is that possible. Like, just push it. I don't care if Roxanne's not healthy. Just push it because we've been running this storyline for way too long. Soon after, we do end up getting Penta versus a Grande Americano #1 contendership match for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I don't really have much to say because I didn't watch this match because I didn't care because I knew Penta was winning. The only reason why I'm even mentioning this match is because Penta 1 and 2 is for the IC title later down the road. So that's the only reason why I'm mentioning it. Now, do I really care for this? Not really, because this is like the 5th match that Dominic and Penta are having. That's one, and Dom is winning, so it's like, it's fine. I'm glad they made it for the IC title for a #1 contendership. It's just like, we have seen Penta and Dom face each other like 5 times already. And then the original El Grande, which is Chad Gable, interferes, so they're still telling that story between the two, which is probably going to lead to a Mania match. So we'll see how that unfolds, but nonetheless, Penta's your #1 contendership for like the millionth time. Dom and Penta are going to have a match, which I'm assuming is probably going to happen probably either after the chamber. I don't know if they're going to do it before the chamber. They're probably going to do it after, but I could be wrong. Dom is most likely going to retain, most likely, so we'll see how that eventually all unfolds. We end up getting AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. They cut a promo against each other. AJ comes out. She started off very strong, I will say. Started off strong. She ends up mentioning the division that she once led. Mentions the Divas title. Mention how she held that championship. And then she ends up mentioning how Becky Lynch doesn't like her, how she's jealous. Ends up saying that she's mad because Becky Lynch hasn't caught up to her, which I found hilarious. I get why she said it. It just didn't make logical sense because I'm like, it's Becky Lynch we're talking about, like the person who main evented WrestleMania, the person who was the face of the company at one point. I feel like AJ Lee was really reaching there when she mentioned that Becky Lynch hasn't caught up to her, of all people. Like, she was reaching with that one. But then she eventually ends up saying that we can't have an official match before Elimination Chamber, but she would like to have a physical altercation with her, basically trying to have a fight with her. She calls Becky Lynch out. Becky comes out. She ends up responding. She ends up saying that the reason why she accepted this match was because she wanted to give AJ Lee the retirement match that she'd never have and that she doesn't deserve. And then she ends up I forgot what else she ends up saying, but eventually this led to AJ Lee wanting Becky to fight her in the ring. She wants her to punch her, and then AJ Lee keeps on giving Becky Lynch more motivation and more motive to punch her. She ends up putting her hands behind her back, telling her to hit her. Becky Lynch keeps on refusing, and then eventually leaves the ring. This segment started off good. It ended bad, I would say. I do like that AJ Lee was more serious in this segment. This is what we need. We need more serious AJ, not this nonchalant, quirky, over-the-top sarcasm. We need this AJ Lee, this more serious version. And then Becky Lynch, she started off great, but then it started to go bad when the whole punching thing started because Becky Lynch does this thing with her character where she stutters a lot and where she does these over-exaggeration of her face expressions, which can work. But she did it way too much in this segment. In this segment, she was stuttering a bit too much, and she was overdoing her emotions with her face. It just looked very cringe. AJ Lee was great towards the beginning of her promo, but towards the end, like the last minute and a half or two of her talking, it kind of went kind of bad with her shouting a bit. So this segment wasn't good, but it was definitely better than last week. So I don't know what these two got to do to make it work. They just don't have really good chemistry, but to be fair, it's been like a decade since AJ Lee been in WWE, so that's a huge part of it. But Also, there are things that they're both doing that's making it work. Becky needs to tone down the stuttering and need to tone down the facial expressions to stop overacting. And AJ, for the most part, she was, if she could repeat majority what she did in this segment here, she would be fine. So hopefully they could get the chemistry to work. They're probably good friends backstage, but whatever reason, they cannot make this work on TV. So I'm hoping next week they can make it work. It is better than what they did last week. Still not good, but it's definitely a step up from last week for sure. Finally, for the main event, we end up getting an elimination qualifying match between Gunther, Javon Evans, and Dominic Mysterio. This was a good match. I expected the way this kind of played out because you can't have Gunther advance in a chamber, because if Gunther's going to be in a chamber, he needs to win, and you're not going to have Gunther win to face Drew McIntyre. So they end up having a Grande Americano come out. Not a Grande Americano. Dragon Lee. I don't know why I thought I'm Grande, but they end up getting Dragon Lee come out, attacks Gunther, which makes sense to get his revenge for the attack he did like 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. And then we end up getting Dominic and Javon have their one-on-one. Javon ends up taking the victory. I like this. I like that Javon Evans is in the chamber. Give someone new an opportunity, someone new, someone that can do some crazy spots on top of the chamber. You know he will. So I like what they did here. Interested to see where this goes. Based on what they did here, it looks like Rey Mysterio is going to be his Mania match for Gunther, which I guess I'm okay with. I just hope it's not a retirement angle, but that's the only way I really care for this match, if it's going to be a retirement angle. Because if this is just a regular feud, I don't care. But a retirement match, I'm not really sure, because if anyone's retiring Ray, it should be Dominic, not Gunther. So we'll see how they make that story interesting. Javon Evans advanced to the Elimination Chamber, which I thought was great. Really love that for him. Can't wait to see what crazy spots he do in the chamber. Overall show, I thought it was a very mid show. I don't think it was a bad show. I think it was very mediocre in my opinion. But overall, yeah, I just thought it was very mediocre in my opinion. But you guys let me know your overall thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. But yeah, that's it.